Hello and welcome to the Film Look Studio Tour. Come on in. So for 10,000 subscribers we always had the idea of doing a studio tour, and we have just reached 10,000 subscribers. We just want to say a big thank you to everyone that subscribed, and now we're going to do a studio tour of our teeny tiny, not so small studio. We're going to start off the studio tour at the bottom of the studio, then kind of work our way around. So the first thing I want to kind of show is our top-down rig. This rig is being developed over time. We've improved things, we've taken things away, and it's something that we use pretty much every day, not just for shooting. This is where we rig and de-rig our cameras, and when we've got lots of equipment, when we're trying to just figure things out. And it's great to just have a space to lay everything flat and see. Obviously with the lights as well, you can see what you're doing. And then with a top-down rig, it is basically, well, we've got a video on this, it's just an arm, like a TV arm stand that we've modified over time. We've got a monitor there, HDMI cable that goes straight into the camera, and it's always powered, so we can just shoot on the table when we need to. For the table, we'll have different backdrops, so we've just got a normal wood one, then we've got, this probably is my favourite one, it's just a green cutting mat. And this actually works really well for when we're making stuff, because we do DIY things and DIY projects, so it's a cutting board. Then we also have a wooden backdrop, it's just laminated flooring that someone randomly had, so we put that together and it works really well. We've got a whiteboard and things like that. In the studio, what you're going to see is lots of cans. We've got cans everywhere, which we've got stuff in. Next to on the table, these are the pens that we use, so whiteboard pens and just pens in general, and it's crazy just having that at hand when you're working. I was shooting something the other day and I just needed a pen, and it was right there. I didn't have to go away and get it and find something. But then you might think, why have I got a coin here? There's a little coin on this rig, and they don't move from this station, because when you're taking tripod plates off cameras, when we shoot on the top down, we've actually got to change it to this type of plate, and just having them there again just save that little bit of time. We only use it, 10 seconds, but you might go and try and find a coin and something to take the tripod plate off. That might take you 30 seconds, so having them there just kind of works. The studio walls are all white, so when we moved in here, we wanted to fill them up with colour. So what we've got is, on the top of the wall is thumbnails from our previous videos. I think that's the first 50 videos on there. Obviously we've got the next 150 to stick on the wall, but this just, we can plonk the camera down and shoot in this direction, and it kind of just makes it look a little bit more appealing. There's colours in the background, it's instead of just the white walls. With the studio lights, like I said, they're always set up here. These are daylight balanced. And then what we've got underneath the table is we've got Stevie, our step stool, and he's a seat, he's a stool, he does everything, and it may look daft, but this is really just comes in handy for lots of different things. And then under the table we've got stuff in these drawers, which are things that we use a lot. So we've got the pens, we've got tape, we've got scissors, we've got standing knives, we've got things that we use which you can just grab hold of. For the studio tour, me and Rich are going to take turns in giving you a guided tour, so it's now his turn.
Okay, so next on the list we've got the next wall. First of all, we've got our feature film plot structure thing. This is another part of getting rid of these white walls. We wanted to fill up as much as we can, like Rob says, so when we shoot something, you don't have these horrible boring white walls. Next on, we've got our little sort of drawer thing. This is where we put anything that isn't something totally necessary every single day. For example, we've got many little heads of Nicolas Cage. If you haven't seen on the internet, there is a joke that someone goes by where he hides Nicolas Cage heads pretty much everywhere, and we've got some actually. You can see him here. You can see him here. And see if you can spot, there should be around 30, and if you can spot all 30, we'll buy you a cake. So we've got things like a Dremel, glue gun, most of like the crafts and DIY stuff, post-its, we've got party hats in here for some reason, and we upcycle and recycle over paper as well, so when we need scrappy paper, we use old scripts, save the planet and all. And then we've got little bits and details that we've got. We don't have central heating in here, so we do have to have heaters all the time. So we've got a little blower when it gets really cold, and it can't get cold in here because this is a very, very old building. We've got a poster tube here of posters that we need to put on the wall as soon as we decide to redecorate. We've got a big backdrop, and all these things are sort of put away so they don't get in the way. We like to have quite a bit of space, and the stuff that we don't want to grab straight away, we just sort of put away and tuck it. Then we've got a little paper lantern thing there for diffusing, and we've got like a DIY fluorescent lamp in the corner here when we need to sort of blast a load of light in. We haven't used it a lot, but we're going to probably use it a bit more. We've got my camera bag that I never use because I always use one of Rob's camera bags. And then for some reason we came across this stuff. It was like old sort of shop window tiles in a way, and they're just made out of this foam, and because it's quite flexible and it's really lightweight, we end up making like little templates out of it, and we use the glue gun and then we sort of like make things out of it. One example would be the microphone for our latest short film Backstage. We made the box just out of foam and then painted it. If you look up here, this is where we store all of our like really long backdrops. So we've got like a black vinyl, we've got like a sort of perforated grey, and then we've also got Rob's goal post. So he made this out of 2 light stands and then like a 90-degree angle bracket so we can actually pin things on, and it kind of looks like a football goal post when you put it up. Alright, now we've got our most storage stuff. Now it might look messy, but we know what everything is in here. These are all props from our film Nowhere to Go, which we've attempted to make several times, and because we're dedicated to finally finishing it, we've kept all of the props. This is all props for Nowhere to Go as well. And then we've got little bits in here, sort of like a Robbie's Pizza box, some other stuff, some more pizza boxes. These are all mostly props. We've got a couple of bobbies. That's why it's called a bobby, because it's like a policeman's hat. Little lights and stuff. We don't use these ones as often, so that's why they're up here. And then we've got a couple of 800 watt big bulbs as well. Next on the list, we've got our podcast sort of setup. Everything's in this box. 3 microphones, Tascam audio recorder, things like that. There's probably going to be some B-roll right now, and Rob actually looks really tiny. That's because we used an 11mm lens, and the eye lines are exactly the same, so it looks as though like he's like a hobbit. Then we got some slates as well, so we like to collect our clapperboards for each project. This is the one of Backstage, and we'll put the date on the back so we know when we made it. We've got loads actually. We've got one from the Indie Film Sound Guide. We've got the Road one from years ago as well. And the hope is that when we do decide to decorate the studio, when we get a bit of money, we're going to put them all on the wall and we're going to collect them all, and in like 30 years time we'll be able to pick up the first one and be like, wow, we made this 30 years ago. It's just a sentimental thing. Ethernet cables, because our internet's rubbish. A bunch of other stuff, and then we've got the bits box. Now this is probably the thing that we're least proud of, other than this foam finger. It's bits of crap that we have got that we don't use a lot and have probably wasted our money on. HDMI cables, 15mm rails, little pocket dollies, extension cables, but stuff that we sort of probably could get rid of, but we don't want to, because in 2 years time we might need one weird wire, and it has happened before, so we just keep pretty much everything. There's a mirror from Backstage. That's not ours. We need to give it back to Emily. Sorry, Emily. And then we've just got a bunch of bags as well. So we've got a bunch of camera bags here. Another big camera bag. You'll see this in one of our episodes. I sewed some LED lights to it, so it's like an outdoor darkness light. And then we've got the lighting bag here, which has like the Danny's in, greaseproof paper, grease. Danny's Zugo's the main character. Danny's, that's what we call them, Danny's. And then actually, really interesting thing is, because we have such a small place, we like to make sure that we've got as much space as possible. And one of them is this folding down table. So we usually have it down so we can sort of park the chairs and stuff away, because we use standing desks and we don't want the chairs to be all over. So we actually have this, and we fold this down when we have maybe another person coming in and doing some work, or when we're doing the podcast, we pull this out, and then we've actually got another table that we screw the legs on. Everything in the studio sort of goes away and flattens down, so we utilize the very, very small space as much as we can. Actually, before I forget, before we move on to the next thing, we do have sort of a lockbox as well. This is everything of value that we don't want stolen. And this is where we keep most of the camera lenses, the cameras, most of the audio equipment, and maybe some of the expensive review items that people have sent over. It is a bit dark. We've tried to put lights on in here and they don't work. So if you need a light, don't buy these little LED things because they're rubbish and they break. So yeah, we've got a bunch of lenses. We've got vintage lenses, we've got newer lenses, second-hand lenses, and a bunch of kit as well, another camera, and a couple of monitors as well that we've been reviewing. We do have episodes on the vintage lenses and some of the cheaper lenses that we've got. There will be a card up in a corner somewhere and you can see more about them. Alright, next up we've got my desk. Now I've got very particular things about my desk. First of all, my keyboard. I'm a bit of a keyboard snob and I need to use a mechanical one. It's incredibly clicky and Rob absolutely hates it. I've also got a matching mouse to go with it. And I've got a little graphics tablet here. This is a really cheap sort of Wacom bamboo and I use this for putting like arrows and stuff into thumbnails and just doing some like little sketchy stuff. I use two Asus 27-inch monitors and the coolest thing about it is this packet of mints. Now this used to be full, it's not full anymore, and every time me and Rob finish a project we all take one of these mints each. I'll tell you right now, these mints are the most disgusting mints ever, and on the front it says the boss and always will be, so whoever gets the work in becomes the boss for the day. I got a Nerf gun for when I need to shoot Rob, some hair gel because I mean I just got my hair cut so it's pretty nice. And out of the look of the draw, I was the one who ended up getting the super fancy computer. Rob did build a computer last year which has just been linked now in a card, and I ended up getting this one because I do a little bit more sort of visual effects stuff, and Rob sort of just said straight away, listen Richard, you've got the rubbish one compared to the both of us, so you get the fancy one. And that's my desk. It is actually a standing desk, but I'm not going to bore you with it because it literally takes about 2 minutes of cranking to get this thing up. Alright, I've been speaking for what feels like a long time, so I'm going to let Rob take over.
So next up is my desk. I've got a computer that I built about a year ago here, which you can find the link on our channel, it's on there. I've got a few little things on my desk, so currently I'm testing out the palette gear, which is being sent to us by Palette. I'm using it to kind of colour grade, do sound, and just see how it works within my workflow. Two monitors, two very different monitors. I really need a widescreen one. I would love a widescreen one, but these will do for now. I've got some family photographs just on my desk because, and one of them's not actually family, it's actually our friend Liam dressed up as a wrestler, but I do like the photograph. And then on the wall we've got artwork from different friends that we know. And it's just nice again to fill up the walls, fill up the white space, and this is actually people that we know made this stuff, so it's nice to have on the walls. We've got a year calendar because I like looking at a calendar over the entire year, ticking off each day just so I can see time pass because I'm not so good at that. And then above that we have Richard's old computer, and it's kind of a memorial to when his computer broke. And if you want to know when it broke, it was just as we were going to launch the first video for the channel and his motherboard crashed, and unfortunately the first video was on his computer. So it was a bit of a rush on to kind of meet our we didn't really have a deadline to get the video out, but we set one and we wanted to keep it, so we had to fix it. Really bad timing. Other than that, it stands as well. So Richard says his desk is a standing desk. It takes a little bit longer than mine, and I'm going to show you. So this standing desk is from Verydesk, and it's kind of like on hydraulics. And what you do is, there's two little flaps either side, and then you just lift it up. And now you can stand and work, and when you're editing for long periods of time and you're just sitting there, just say you were sitting there just looking at a computer screen, it gets to you. But when you're standing, you can have a little bit of a dance when the music's playing when you're editing, and it's just better on your back and things like this. So if you can get a standing desk, I would definitely recommend it. This is actually my favourite part of the studio, and it's this ginormous window and all of the light that comes in. We're quite lucky in the fact of having this amount of light coming in, and it just, you know, especially when you're in here day after day, it's nice to have. I mean, the view's not that pretty, but you kind of get away with that. And what I'm actually sitting on is a bench that was made by my granddad about 35 years ago. It's been in the garden for that long, and I kind of got it, sanded it down, waxed it up, and it's now our bench in here. We did have a sofa, but it took up too much room, and this is probably my favourite piece in the studio. It's even got his name kind of stamped into the wood as well. But this area that I'm sitting in is also our meeting area, so anytime me and Richard want to have a meeting, we want to discuss a video idea or a film, we come and sit here. We sit in the window, kind of look out, and it's just a nice place to have. We should probably get some cushions to make it a little bit more nicer, but it's good. I normally sit this side, Richard sits that side, and yeah, it's not a bad meeting room at all. What Richard's going to do now, he's going to show you around the rest of the studio.
So this might actually look really familiar. This is our presenting setup. Now let's show you some of the details we've got here. First of all, we've got Rob's Instagram wall. So this is every picture he's taken, what was it, 2013, 2014 and 15. It bounces loads of colour on the background, and then when it's blurred out it looks really nice. Then we've got our sort of shelf here. You know, things like this light here is always going to stay here. It's on a clamp, and it means that we can knock it on. You get a hair light, you get a bounce light on the background. We never really move that out of the way, and then during winter nights we sometimes stick it on because the lights, the office lights, really just aren't as nice. The next shelf is just loads of old cameras. If you want a history lesson, I'm sure Rob will want to give you one. Request that down below and he'll talk about his cameras for the next 5 hours. The next one we've got maybe like some of the favourite cameras. Like I really like this one here just because it looks really old. You know, you've got a Super 8, and then this is my first official video camera as well. Actually, there's a video on that if you want to learn more. And then we've got our story in a can cans here. And then for Christmas, my mum did get me and Rob something for the office, which is, it's a clapperboard, but it's a lighty up one. A lot of the stuff that we have here is battery powered, so we've got basically battery central here. Again, we've got tin cans to charge, some 3D printed AA holders. We've got a video on that actually, there's another card. And just loads and loads of batteries and battery boxes and battery chargers and battery cases and more 3D printed battery stuff. We've got a bunch of 160 LEDs. Now LED technology has moved on since then, but these still come in really handy and they're really cheap. And then we've got a little box of like mini gels and diffusion paper to go on them, just when you want to put a bit of colour into a shot, maybe for a kicker or a hair light or something like that. Then this is another thing of just bits, so maybe some more of the more handy bits like ND filters. We've got what's that called again, a lens hood, that thing, they're all in there. Extension tubes for when we want to do certain macro shots, and just a bunch of other stuff as well. And then underneath that we've just got our books. So there's a bunch here on special effects, animators sort of stuff. There's actually a Gordon Ramsay makes it easy cooking book. We used this for a prop on an episode. We actually haven't read it or cooked anything from it. And then we've got Rob's award when he won the Sunderland Shorts debut 2015 Best Regional Award. Road. There will be a card up there if you want to watch it. And then biscuits. We hide the biscuits because they are the most important thing of the whole office, and we would hate for someone to come in and steal our biscuits. Chocolate hobnobs, they're my favourite. Printer, because you know you need to print stuff, and a phone just in case Karen decides to call. Hello Karen. No, it doesn't work, it's not plugged in. Then we got our Monopoly board. This is kind of like, it's supposed to be like a vintage Monopoly board. We don't actually play Monopoly, but we always find that trying to find metaphors for money is really difficult in some episodes, so we figured, well, Monopoly money's colourful, everyone knows what it is, and it's also non-specific to a certain country as well, like all Monopoly money looks exactly the same, so we decided to do that. And then, this must be Rob's typewriter, yeah, there's a typewriter there. We've used this for a few episodes as well, for a couple of writing episodes, just to get a bit of things going. I'll tell you something, using this is an absolute pain. I've tried to use it for B-roll before in an episode, and you would not believe how difficult it is to get it to do the right thing. Now I'm going to try and have to figure out how to put it back together. Woo! So below the presenting wall, we've got some storage solutions. We did an episode on the bungee cord wall, which is a way for us to store stuff without it falling over. We've got one here and we've got one over there as well that you'll see in a minute. So tripod, slider, boom pole, tripod, mic stand, and then we don't have rooms for like a bin. So instead we've got these like poster things, and they're used as trash cans, essentially. But yeah, you're probably sick of my face again, so here comes Rob.
Next up, we're actually at the door now, where we came into. But we've got cord hooks. We've actually got some signs here, with mine and Richard's kind of, I would say these are Avatar type things. You may recognise him from American Dad. He looks exactly like Richard, especially the chin. And apparently my family thinks I look like this guy, which was on an advert. What we do, every time someone makes a cup of tea, we change them over so we know whose turn it is to make the next cup of tea. So we don't argue, basically. We're like a married couple, basically, but we're trying to make it a little bit easier. One of the things that we do, though, when someone does visit the studio is take their Polaroid, and I have another old camera here. This is an old Polaroid camera, which you can still get film for. And what we've got we've got a washing line above us with everyone who's visited the studio's picture. It is quite expensive, so I'm glad not many people come to the studio, and everyone who we kind of know has been, but it's really nice to have. So anytime someone comes, they get the Polaroid taken, we've got them on the wall, and we've put them on a piece of fishing wire across the studio, and some of them are faded. Some of them, you can see which ones were taken first, and we can see some of the newer ones which are actually on the back. So if you ever come to the studio, you will get your Polaroid taken. If you can't tell by now, our studio is a little bit makeshift, it's a little bit DIY, and you know what, I like it like that. One of the biggest makeshift, jankiest things that we have in the studio is the flag. So when we present, the light actually spills onto the Instagram wall and it reflects light. So we put a flag in place to kind of combat that, but we don't own proper flags, but we do own cardboard. So here's the little setup. So behind this picture, which is our posters, we have this flag. So what I need to do is just undo the duct tape, and then the flag comes down, and now it's because the light is normally here, we present just there, and the light stops the light from bouncing onto the Instagram wall. It's cardboard, it's duct tape, but you know what? It works, and it was free. So this is always set up here, just for when we present, and we can present one time in a week, but we can present 4 times in a week. So this actually just saves time. So the next thing I want to actually talk about is our movie posters. So every time we make a film, we make a poster and we put it on the wall. All the cast and crew get one as well. But the reason we do this is because we want to remember the past projects that we've made and we've created and what we've achieved, because sometimes you forget about the projects that you do. So first of all, this was our first short film, Road. This is the first one me and Rich worked on together, and then we've got his film Corpse, which was really fun to make. It's all these are on our channel as well. Then we've got Keep the Change, and then we've got the indie film sound guide. Even for the guides, we make posters, and like it says, it is just nice to have. We actually have a new one to go up from our latest short film, Backstage, which might replace this one, but we don't know yet. You might tell that these frames are not straight. That's my fault. But right underneath is our second bungee cord wall. This has got a few more things in, like light stands. We've got table legs, we've got gels. Again, we couldn't put anything against this wall that would stick out too much because we have limited space in here. So it just puts everything against the wall, nothing's going to fall over, and we have a video about that. And that is the end of the studio tour, so thanks very much for watching.
To put this into perspective, we did measure out the studio, and it is approximately 162 square feet or 15 square meters. So get a tape measure out and compare it to any room in your house, just to realise how small our studio actually is.
Yeah, and we love having the studio. It's a great place to work. We have worked from our own bedrooms. We've had other spaces before, but having a dedicated place to work, have things set up like this, does make the process a lot nicer, a lot easier, and you're not kind of just rolling out of bed onto your computer. So if you can find a space, whatever it is, even if it's in your garage, just kind of get away from the bedroom.
And last of all, thank you very much for 10,000 subscribers. We did not realise when we started this channel that we would be in this much progression. We really appreciate it, guys. Keep watching, and remember to achieve it one shot
at a time. Should rehearse that. Yeah.